You know, when you think of the Arctic, what's the first animal that pops into your head? For most of us, it's this one, the polar bear. But there's so much more to this animal than just its iconic image. We're talking about a true master of survival, an animal perfectly, and I mean perfectly, engineered for a world of solid ice. So let's dive in and really get to know this magnificent creature.
And when we say powerful, well, that's kind of an understatement. A healthy adult polar bear, we're talking over 180 kilograms. To put that in perspective, that's more than 2 average adult humans put together. And this isn't just fat, this is raw, concentrated power.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about any old bear here. This is it, the largest land carnivore and the largest species of bear on the entire planet. No question about it. They are the undisputed kings of the Arctic.
All right, so here's the plan for our explainer today. First, we're going to properly meet this ice giant. Then, we'll take a trip to a place called the polar bear capital of the world. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how they're built for the extreme cold. And finally, we'll have to face the tough stuff, the reality of their melting world, and, well, what that means for their future. Okay, first up, let's get a closer look at our ice giant. Its scientific name is Ursus maritimus. So what exactly is a polar bear? Well, Ursus maritimus is just a stunning example of evolution in high gear. Believe it or not, it's a really close cousin to the brown bear, but it's adapted in these incredible ways to not just, survive in the planet's harshest, coldest places, but to completely master them. Okay, but to really get a handle on these animals, we can't just talk about them in the abstract, right? We need to ground this story in a real place. So let's go to a tiny town right on the edge of the Arctic that's earned this amazing title, the polar bear capital of the world.
And that town is Churchill, located in Manitoba, Canada. It's this tiny, remote outpost, but it has this one incredible claim to fame. Every single fall, hundreds of polar bears gather right on its outskirts. It's actually the most accessible place on the entire planet to see them in the wild.
So if we zoom out a bit on the map, you'll see Churchill sits right on the coast of Manitoba. This huge Canadian province is basically the perfect gateway for these bears to get to their most essential hunting grounds.
And the real centerpiece of this whole ecosystem? It's Hudson Bay. This massive inland sea, it's everything to the polar bears here. See, when its surface freezes solid, it turns into their personal all-you-can-eat buffet.
So you get it now, right? This massive gathering of bears, it's not some big social event. Nope, it's a stakeout. You have hundreds of bears, all just patiently waiting for one single thing, for that sea ice on Hudson Bay to finally freeze over so they can get out there and start hunting for the winter. Which really makes you wonder, how on earth do they survive out there? Well, that brings us to the polar bear's incredible survival toolkit. I mean, these animals are just perfectly built for the cold.
I mean, really think about it for a second. In a place where temperatures can drop to absolutely lethal lows, how do they stay warm? It's a great question, and the answer is a whole lot more sophisticated than just, oh, they have a big furry coat.
It's actually this complete multi-layered insulation system, something just perfected by evolution over time. So first off, you've got a super thick layer of fat or blubber that keeps their core warm. Then on top of that, there's a really dense undercoat of fur that traps a layer of air right next to their skin. But it gets better. They also have these long tangle-resistant guard hairs that are oily and shed water. This is key because it keeps that undercoat totally dry even after they've been swimming in icy water. It's a system so perfect. Honestly, it's like they're wearing the most advanced thermal gear nature could ever come up with.
But here's the thing. Even these perfectly adapted masters of the ice, they're now facing a threat that their evolution just couldn't have prepared them for. And this brings us to the single greatest challenge to their survival, a world of melting ice.
And to really understand this threat, you first have to understand what they eat. See, seals are pretty much the polar bear's #1 food source. They are loaded with fat and calories, exactly what you need to survive in the Arctic. Here's the catch, though. The bears hunt them on the sea ice. So the equation is simple and it's brutal. No ice means no seals.
And that is the absolute heart of the crisis. The very platform they need to survive, their entire world, it's literally melting away beneath their feet. As the planet gets warmer, the sea ice is forming later in the fall, and it's melting earlier in the spring. What does that do? It shrinks their hunting season, year after year after year.
So what does this all add up to? What does it mean for the polar bear?
Well, this isn't some far-off future problem. It's happening right now, and it's already led to a pretty sobering official verdict on their chances of survival.
A real turning point came back in 2008. That was the year the polar bear was officially listed as a threatened species under the US Endangered Species Act. And believe me, this wasn't just some bureaucratic label. It was a global alarm bell going off.
And just to be super clear here, that decision wasn't based on feelings or anything like that. It was based on overwhelming scientific evidence that all pointed to one single primary threat: the accelerating loss of their sea ice hunting grounds, all because of climate change.
So, that really just leaves us with one final haunting question. For thousands and thousands of years, this animal has evolved to be the absolute master of the ice. But as that ice thins, as it shrinks, as it disappears, what becomes of its master?